The long nation of Argentina stretches more than 4,000 kilometers north to south. Like Chile, the nation ranges from subarctic cold in the south to tropical conditions in its north. Its land ranges from long, beautiful coastlines to deep, treacherous swamps. It has the high terrains of the Andes Mountains and the flat plains of the Pampas. Despite Argentina having tremendous resources, an educated population, and being one of the continent's biggest economies, the nation has had to overcome much. It has a history of military dictatorship, a humiliating military loss of territory, and economic mismanagement. Argentina does not have a history of large left-leaning insurgencies like many other Latin American nations. This is because they have embraced as a nation a more right-wing and dictatorial approach to government. Argentina's history of dictatorial governments have strongly intervened in the country's economy. The political movement known as Peronism, named for Juan and Eva Perón, believed the government was responsible to bridge the gap between business and the people. However, the government leaned near fascist and dictatorial and often racist at times. The government has responded to issues rather than planning for them, and as a result, many economists suggest the nation has not met its potential. The major industries of Argentina are cattle in the Pampas, petroleum, automobiles, though not from Argentinian companies, but rather from companies like Chevy and Subaru, soybeans, corn, and wheat. Again, much of the country is flat plains. Today, Argentina remains in a dispute over the Falkland Islands with Great Britain. Argentina has claimed the islands soon after their independence. However, Great Britain governs the islands as a territory of its own empire and houses a substantial naval and military presence there. In 1983, both Great Britain and Argentina engaged in a short war over control of the Falkland Islands. The Falklands War was begun when Argentina invaded the islands, but the nation was no match for the British military. Though the weaker military power was able to inflict some damage, the war was a humiliating loss to Argentina. Further, in 2001 and 2014, the government of Argentina defaulted on its own debt. This means its country was unable to repay the money it owned. This is a big deal, because when a country cannot repay its debt, they cannot borrow or invest in their own future. As a result, the nation is currently in an economic downturn. The coastal nation of Uruguay has become more affluent, wealthy, and stable than other countries in the region. However, they too would not escape the left-wing insurgencies many other nations would experience in the 1970s. Uruguay established a large welfare state that used high taxes on business and manufacturing to pay back services to people. So people receive a high standard of living, but they have a high cost as well. As a result, Uruguay is often referred to as the Switzerland of South America. However, during the 1970s and 80s, the government abandoned these principles when they were forced to respond to left-wing insurgent attacks and violence. So the nation suspended and basically ignored their constitution and had the military rule the nation until 1985. Since 1985, democracy has returned. The economy has been slowly released back into public hands, and tourism has been a major focus. The nation has a beautiful coastline with year-round mild climate. The current government has maintained their stance on social welfare, with education being the focus, and a lowering of crime has been the result. Paraguay is one of the region's poorest countries. The land is owned by a select few wealthy elite, while 40% of the nation is classified as being in extreme poverty. The economy relies on farming and creating hydroelectric dams. Though the physical landscape is beautiful, the nation has not embraced tourism. Paraguay, unlike Argentina and Chile, has a substantial indigenous identity. Most of the people are a mix of Guarani and Spanish. They are known in South American culture as mestizo. The nation has had to contend with their own left-wing insurgency with the Paraguayan People's Army. The government, heavily influenced by the wealthy class and business class, worked to change the constitution in 2012 in order to give the president the power to use the military to fight the Paraguayan People's Army as a foreign invader. This has limited their influence and danger to the rest of Paraguay. However, it also emboldened those who support the president, Horacio Cartes, who was elected in April of 2013. They are trying to change the constitution to allow him to run again. In response, large protests have erupted throughout Paraguay, and those protests have led Mr. Cartes to announce in 2017 that he would not run again. The large nation of Brazil has unique challenges due to their diverse landscape. The last decade and a half have seen the nation work hard to increase equality and limit poverty, though the difference between rich and poor remains extreme. The highly diverse population of Brazil mostly speaks Portuguese, though in the Amazonian interior, the native languages of the indigenous people are spoken there. The government in recent years has experienced a considerable amount of drama. The nation worked hard to host the 2014 World Cup and the 2016 Summer Olympics. Though the events were considered a success, many feel the nation spent too much money on the events. The infrastructure was poorly planned, and there was corruption in who received contracts to build for or work on the events. Further, the president, Dilma Rousseff, was removed from office when she was indicted for corruption, and the country has been working hard since to rebuild the trust of the people in the government after years of overt corruption. Though not technically a part of Atlantic South America, we're going to mention the landlocked nation of Bolivia now. Bolivia, unlike the nations of Chile and Argentina, retains a significant native population. Significantly also, the nation has the second largest natural gas reserves in South America, but the nation has not begun the process of removing this valuable resource. This is largely because there is no way the nation can maintain sole control of the resource. As a landlocked country, selling the natural gas would be impossible, as they couldn't get the gas out of the nation without passing through a regional competitor. Evo Morales has been elected president since 2005. He is from the Amira Native American tribe. Mr. Morales promised many left-wing programs similar to those in Ecuador. Mr. Morales designed his political theories upon his tribe's social constructs and organization. There is a belief in the shared well-being and wealth of the whole tribe, and he has tried to bring these principles to the rest of his nation. What oil and gas was in the nation, Mr. Morales nationalized. Similar to Venezuela, this effort has not been popular with businesses, but it was with those who are in poverty, as the money allowed his government to finally invest in social programs. As a result, the extreme poverty of the nation, where health and well-being are truly at risk due to the lack of wealth, has dropped in the country by nearly 43%. Despite the improvement, the nation remains extremely poor. Mr. Morales' government has led an effort to have the nation vote to change the constitution to allow him to run again. The effort has failed, and he has announced he will not run again as he has reached his term limits.